little over a year ago I made a video about this, the ATGAMES Legends Pinball Micro, a small virtual pinball table. I'd imported this myself from the US. It wasn't officially available in the UK at that time, and I was interested in trying out a virtual pinball table, but they'd always been too large, so I was happy when this thing showed up on the scene. Now, I made that video, stuck it up on YouTube, and the people behind it, ATGAMES, they got in touch. And they said, would I be interested in taking a look at their 4K table when that comes out? Now, that was going to be the larger model one, which I don't really have the room for, but I said, yeah, go ahead, because I thought it would never show up. Well, turns out they did send it, and it's massive. And that is why today we've got a bit of a change of scenery. I'm having to shoot this one in the garage because there isn't enough room anywhere in the house other than this to be able to put this thing together and get a decent angle on me assembling it with the camera. So in the garage I've got a bit of space, and it's also important that I'd be able to get this out of the house once I put it together. You see, I'm not keeping this. This is a loaner. This has been a loan to me before it goes on to Liberty Games in the UK. They sell the ATGAMES range, including the Pinball Micro. They've got that in there already. This one they're going to have in June, so I'm seeing this perhaps 3 months early, so a bit of an early look at this one as far as the UK is concerned. There are plenty of videos on YouTube about it already though, especially Wagner's Tech Talk. He's done some videos on it. I've made sure not to watch any of them though, because I wanted to get a good first impression without anything being coloured by anyone else's opinion. What we have here are 2 boxes that come as the one delivery. This one is the back glass section, the vertical bit that goes at the back, and then this is the, what do you call it, the table, the playfield, the long section at the bottom. And this bottom one here, that's a 2-person lift job. DHL came and delivered it, and there was 2 chaps, pretty big chaps, so they were struggling a little bit with it. It's a heavy thing. This one person can lift it on their own, but you've got to be careful you don't put your back out. I mean, it's that kind of thing. Right, well, since this is box 2 of 2, I think we'll open the other one first. I'm assuming the instructions are going to be in that, so I've got to move this one out of the way. It is heavy, actually, this one. Either that or I'm very weak, or both. Right, so we've got quite thick foam padding on here, so you can see that that should be well protected. Got a bit of polystyrene from a previous delivery, so hopefully I can get it to rest on that. This could go horribly wrong. I've got to suggest that this is probably not a 1-person job. Right, so here's my bag of instructions, and there aren't too many parts in here as far as assembling the 2 halves together. We've got some bolts, wing nuts, a few little dowels. Right, so I've lifted it onto its box, so the idea now is I should be able to attach the legs with it raised off the floor. Apparently the assembly is supposed to take around about 30 to 45 minutes. I'm doing this on my own. I think these are the legs. You've got quite a bit of adjustment on there if you are putting these somewhere that's a little bit uneven. But yeah, those are sturdy. They need to be as well. Weight of this thing. Right, now the screws for the legs were in the box with the legs. And yeah, they are a little bit short there. I could do with raising this up a little bit more. Right, now while I put these legs on, I'll just mention the price here in the UK, because I've looked on the Liberty Games website. If you're in the US, look on the ATGAMES website. But here in the UK, this is £1,599. But it doesn't stop there, because this has the SSF kit in it, the surround sound feedback kit. That's subwoofers, I think maybe transducers and things to make it properly feel like there's something bashing around inside. And if you're spending that amount of money, you might as well go the whole hog. But that's another £599. So you're over £2,000 for this whole set I've got here. So bear in mind, when I give you my impressions on this one, I'm giving you on the model that's fully loaded with the SSF kit. Now, I should mention at the beginning of the video, you'll have probably seen the little pop-up to say that this is a sponsored video. I think that's what it shows. That thing at the top left when it first starts. Basically, that's a box you tick when you're uploading a video to say that you've received some kind of commercial consideration. Now, I'm not getting paid to make this video. I'm not getting to keep this. But the fact is they've sent this to me, which costs them some money, and it enables me to make a video. So that's why I've agreed to do it, because I wanted to have a look at this for myself. Okay, so in this box here, I think this is the topper. Yeah, there it is. So that illuminates, and that goes on the top. It's got a film over it, which I suppose I should really peel off. We'll do that at the end. We're doing some handles on this, but we haven't got any. Let's just hope it doesn't slide out the bottom when I lift it up. Just don't want to break anything. Right, so in this little box that came with the top section, we have an IEC C13 to UK power plug, often referred to as a kettle lead. So that means that there's a transformer in the device. We don't have a trailing power brick like we did with the Pinball Micro. So that's good. And also, we've got a set of keys. Right, so that's protecting the glass, and you can also see we've got a film over the top of that as well, which needs to be removed. Okay, so here's the lock for the key, but before I open that panel, I'll just mention down at the bottom here, we've got various inputs, Ethernet, USB, but also HDMI, which will allow you to send your own video up to the different screens on this one. So if you had some kind of external pinball emulator, you could output the video into this and then have the USB set up as the control panel for it. A little bit above my pay grade, but if you want to get involved in that kind of stuff, it just shows that this is expandable beyond what it can do out of the box. And of course you can download additional tables to it, and there'll be more of those coming along over time as well. But let's just get this panel off here. And these are the wires that we'll need to connect up. Okay, now I need to remove all these screws from this back section so I can get to the wires to connect them between the bottom and the top halves. It does provide you with this little screwdriver, this Phillips screwdriver. That looks incredibly unpleasant to use, so if at all possible, bring your own. I'd imagine most people would have one of those somewhere, but I mean, if you don't, at least you've got a backup. Now at the top, I just want to mention, in this corner here, there's a switch which has 3 positions, and I think that will put the backlight to 2 different brightnesses for the topper unit, but we'll find out once we get it connected. But I just wanted to mention where it was before I forget about it. So let me get my screwdriver out, take this panel off, and then what we have to do is pop one on top of the other. Right, so this is the final one, so that's 8 screws coming out of there. Right, so as you can see, these are all colour-coded, red, white, green, blue up there, yellow down here. That's a socket for a wire to come up through the bottom. So let's get this on the other half. Right, so before we lift the top on, we need to put these 2 wooden dowels in these holes here just to help locate it. And then once it goes on the top, we've got these that screw through and go into these holes here. So let's see if I can get that into position. There we go. Right, so we'll just get these in, and then once we've got it nice and secure, we can wire it all together. Right, so now we just need to feed these wires through this hole into the top section. Now this is the only section that I think some people might get a little bit stuck with, because whilst I'm familiar with connecting things like this together, to a lot of people, it would be the first time they've ever had to mess around with things like this, and they are a little bit fragile. If you're too forceful with some of these things, you can break them. Right, now this is perhaps the most delicate one, and we're also coming in with a cable from the top downwards here, and we've got a diagram above to show us the red wires are on the left of the connector, like so. So we just need to carefully bend that one over and pop it into this socket. This is a little bit fiddly. Right, we've just got this one left at the top, and that one connects from this section up through and into the topper. Right, now I'm just going to put this topper section on, and I notice the wire's taped under there, and I think the idea is I'm supposed to bring it down through the case. So I'll pull that one back to where it came from and put this one down through the top instead. There we go. And then we just need to put these wing nut things through these 2 holes in the top, and the whole thing's secured. And of course I've just got to remember to connect these 2 together, and that's it. I'm 6 foot. What's that, 7 foot approximately? So yeah, it's a big old thing, and I've just realised, how am I going to move it from here now? Hopefully I can lift one end up onto one of these trolley dolly things and move it down the other end of the garage, because I could do is spinning this around before I plug it in, so at least we've got it in a position where we can play it, because at the moment it's facing the wall. Be a shame if it all crashes to the floor after this amount of work, wouldn't it? Right, time to peel off all the plastics. Before I do that though, I'll just mention this section at the bottom here. That can be replaced with an arcade control panel, because you can get this thing to play arcade games, and having proper buttons and a proper joystick on there will be better than this D-pad. I really hope that D-pad's better than the one that they put on the other device, because that wasn't very good at all, very imprecise. So yeah, here we go. Looking good so far, no scratches, no cracks. One last bit. Right, I think we're ready to plug it in. Almost, the power lead's a little bit short. Let me just move it this way. Where's the on-off switch? I didn't see it. It's right underneath this front panel. Please work, because after all this, if it doesn't, that's a disappointment. No, we're on. Oh, thank goodness for that. Let's put the volume up. Good quality sound coming out of that. Oh, a bit loud, wasn't it? Right, I can see all 3 screens are on, so that's a positive. You know what I'm going to do today though? I think I've done enough for the moment, so I'm going to just check it's working. I believe it needs a firmware update to start with, like everything in the world does. I'll have to connect it up to the internet, do that, and then I'm going to come back tomorrow and have a proper game on this. I thought it would be a good idea to put some casters on this. Now, looking at these adjustable feet, it seems like they just have one bolt through the middle that's an M10. At least it seemed to measure up to an M10. So let's see if I'm right, because I've got some M10 casters to put on it. And these have a lock on each one, so it's not going to roll around and activate the tilt function. So I think that's the first job today. Just makes my job a little bit easier, and then we can play some games. Yeah, definitely recommend doing this. Okay, I've got it locked in position. Let's switch it on now. As we found out yesterday, the switch is under the front here. And as you can see, we've got the artwork lighting up at the top there. It does take a little while to boot up. So whilst it's doing that, I'll give you some specs. The screen at the bottom here in portrait orientation, that's a 32-inch 4K display. The one on the back here, that's 23.8 inches, that's HD, that displays the back glass artwork as well as the scores. And then down here we've got a smaller 8-inch HD display, which is for the DMD, the dot matrix display, the orange display that you see on the back of a lot of pinball tables, especially from the 90s. The sound, we mentioned the SSF kit was installed. Well, that consists of a large subwoofer in the bottom facing downwards. I'll show you a picture of that. And now we've got 4 exciters. Now, exciters are little transducer type speakers that vibrate the cabinet, but also playback audio. You might have seen some of those surface mount speakers that you put on, say, a table and you can hear the sound coming from them. It's just those. So what we have there is 2 at the front either side and 2 at the back either side. But you've also got these 2 main speakers that are on the model without the SSF, and those have got a nice rich sound. But yeah, to get the surround sound effect, to make it sound like the ball's actually moving around this bit, you need that SSF kit. Now, out of the box, with this particular model, there are 15 different built-in tables you can choose from. Of course, you can purchase additional packs of tables or individual tables, and I might pick the Peanuts one up later on so we can have a look at that. But for the moment, I'll show you what's built in. You select the table you want by pressing the flipper buttons to move through the list left and right. So let me show you that now. Now, it's always difficult to represent something like this properly in a video because by its very nature it doesn't fit on a single screen. But you'll see here I've got a camera pointing at the back glass. I've moved you over to the side there, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to overlay this on this side, and then as I scroll through you'll see what the different back glasses are for the different play fields. Now, you won't be able to make out this text here, but it gives a bit of information about the table that we're currently looking at. So this is the Addams Family, and it's telling us that the Addams Family was the best-selling pinball adventure of all time, and that's correct. They sold over 20,000 of these, and it came out in 1992. Let's scroll through the others. Now, the names that you see here, they're probably not going to be familiar to most people. There's some Zakaria tables in here, I believe that's how it's pronounced. Last time I called it Zachariah. But it shows you the unfamiliarity with the name there because it's not something that I recognise from back in the day. When I played pinball tables in the 90s in pubs and other venues, I was playing Lethal Weapon 3, Terminator 2, Indiana Jones, Star Trek The Next Generation. You're not going to find any of those in here, but you will find some tables you can have fun with, and I hope there's more that come along that are like the Addams Family, that are recognisable names. Let's have a play with this one. Okay, here we go.
Welcome, Honored Guest.
Terrible.
Why, thank you, Bing.
Combo. 2 million. Loop level 1. 2 million. Loop level 2.
Okay, now as far as the controls go, well, on the top here we've got a D-pad. It feels a little bit better than the one on the micro pinball table, but it's still not a good D-pad. Now, as far as the buttons go, these are what you're going to be using the majority of the time. The red one, well, that's the left-hand flipper. Of course, these are mirrored on the other side. The white one, that's to nudge the table from this side. There's also a nudge on the front if you want to nudge it upwards. Now, you can also move the table around physically if you want to activate the nudge, because it does have accelerometers in here. And of course, if you over nudge, you're going to tilt the game. Then we just got a back button, play, menu, and this section here, well, we've got 2 coin slots, but they are just for decoration. It's nice that they're illuminated, but they don't do anything. If you were to put a coin in, it just comes back out of the bottom again. This section can't be opened, it's just a decorative piece. That's not a real lock, but we do have a plaque on here which tells me that this was made on the 22nd of February 24, and mine is number 526, and I need to take this piece of plastic off here. So yeah, if you're ever in a shop and you see 526 as the demo unit, that's the one that I've had here. Oh, and over to the right we've got a nice plunger, nice dampened spring-loaded mechanism on that one. I'll just show you how the plunger interacts with the ball. It's not strictly on or off. You can properly control it, just like a real one. You can move it away from the ball like so, or just tap the ball gently, or pull it further, to launch it. Now you can see while the game isn't in play, the nudge button would affect the time of day. What that means is it alters the lighting effects. Let's have a look at it. So this table's got 3 different lighting effects: nighttime, morning and afternoon. Now it is very difficult to shoot pinball due to its portrait orientation, so quite often people will put the camera at the side to get the whole playfield in shot, but that means that the perspective's all off because it's been drawn with the perspective of the player in mind. So from the angle that you're at now, this will look rather strange. I'll just play a little bit on it though, and then we'll move the camera around to the position that I'm at and you'll see what I'm talking about. But the lighting effects on this are very impressive. Right, we'll let that ball drain and we'll bring the camera around. Right, so this is more like it. With the perspective accurately lined up, it looks a lot more like a real table. Let's just launch the ball, and I just want to show you these lighting effects I'm talking about. So if we bring the ball down here, just notice how the light is cast off the ball there, and the ball's got a slightly mucky quality to it. Now if we just nudge the table a little bit, look how this shadow's coming across this way. It's very impressive. Right, now let's just compare that with the Addams family, because I don't think the ball effects on that are quite as good. So I'll just stop the ball in a similar position here and notice how the lighting effects aren't as good on the ball. It doesn't seem to cast the same shadows as the other one did. Now one thing you can do with this one is change the visual extras. So if we just press that button now, you'll see this flame effect go up and down the table. And when the effects are on, these 2 candles at the top are lit, but there's various other overlays. So I don't know how well you can see this, but it says floating scores, ball trails and visual extras.
Go, man.
I looked at what price an Addams Family one was online in the UK at the moment, a restored model of the proper original one from 1992. £15,500. Yeah, so it's a bit of a rich man's game, but a rich man who also has the commitment to having a repair chap coming round to fix it up for them, but they've also got a room to put it in, they've got a ground floor access for the thing. I mean, there's a lot of things involved in having a real pinball table, and a lot of those are negated by a model like this, although I still wouldn't want to carry this up a flight of stairs. There are 15 games in here. 14 of them play brilliantly. Unfortunately, the one that doesn't is the headliner, the Addams Family. And the reason for that is that there's a lag on the flipper. When you press the flipper button, there's a slight delay before your flipper actually moves. Now, I'm not the kind of person that would notice these kind of things, I would have thought. I saw this in the comments, in the reviews under this, where people had that issue. They said that the Addams Family game was unplayable because of this flipper lag. I thought, they're just people who are really nitpicking. Well, no, they're absolutely right. It is unplayable with this flipper lag, at least for me. Maybe you'll be able to get around it by pressing the flipper slightly before you want the flipper to move, but it is properly noticeable. I mean, it takes, I don't know, 0.2 seconds or something. It's a proper delay. That's no good at all on a pinball table. The ball comes down, you need to be able to be very accurate with it and get it just exactly right. And all the other tables, the ones programmed by Magic Pixel, those all work perfectly. Absolutely bob on. You press it, it happens. It feels like it's real. The Addams Family, there's a delay, and that's the only game that's made by Zen Studios that's in here. Now, I was wondering, is it underpowered? Is that the problem? But I don't think it is, because the games don't seem to stutter. I haven't noticed any weirdness with the animation. 60 frames per second, 4K, seems super smooth to me in all the games. The Magic Pixel games, those have got better lighting effects than the Addams family, but the Addams family has quite a few more animations going on. But you can switch all those off, and still it has this flipper lag. I even went to the trouble of downloading the Snoopy game, or Peanuts game, from Zen Studios. $5, I think it's £4.10p or something. Great price for getting a whole new table on this. Still got that flipper lag though, so that one isn't playable either, really, until they update it. And of course, Zen Studios are going to be the people who are bringing out future games, unrecognisable names from the 1990s, the kind of pinball tables that I would have wanted to play. I mean, I really wanted to play the Addams family. I can't play it for more than a couple of minutes because the ball just keeps draining down the bottom because I can't get the accurate shots I need. I'll press the thing to hit the flipper and the ball's already gone past it. So yeah, that really does need to be solved. And it's a shame because ATGAMES have made a brilliant piece of hardware that seems to play everything else just fine, but Zen Studios needs to optimise their code or whatever they need to do to get rid of this flipper lag, and I hope they can do it.
Lock the ball! Lost again? Rats!
But yeah, if I ever did have the dream house I wanted with a snooker room, a games room, a home cinema room, somewhere in there there'd be room for one of these. But I'd really hope that they manage to fix that issue with the Zen pinball tables, because I'm not the kind of person who would connect up a gaming PC to this. It's way too much hassle. I'd like this thing to be a self-contained device. Just buy the games from the store, $5 a piece. You know, over time you could get a nice collection of the games you wanted, but the important thing is they've got to play properly. And at the moment, those Zen ones need quite a bit of work to be able to get them up to scratch. But there you go. That is the ATGAMES Legends Pinball 4K. I think that's what they call it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I've enjoyed playing with it. I'll be sad to see it go, but I'll also be happy to get my garage back again. Anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.